Welcome to Google Today, Jenny. We're so excited to have you here. Everyone, we are blessed and fortunate to have Jenny Feterovich with us as our guest today for Google Talks. Yeah,
Thank you.
If you're not familiar, Jenny is actually an award-winning producer. She's actually the producer of The Russian Five, which we're going to have a chance to talk a little bit more about. Before we get into that, there's a couple of really interesting things about you. Jenny actually is a Russian immigrant to our country. She came here with $100, I think, in a suitcase. Yep. Calls herself a serial entrepreneur. Is involved in a lot of various affiliated Detroit groups and volunteer groups. Global Community Habitat, I believe, is one of those businesses that you are a board member of. Also, Godmothers Detroit, is that another one as well? So you can kind of see Jenny has got a million different hats she wears at all times, and we're really excited to hear from you today. So with that, one last round of applause for Jenny to welcome her to Google. Thank you for being here, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. What an exciting place to be. Thank you for your time, So let me jump in and I'll tell you a little bit about my lessons in entrepreneurships and lessons in life that all kind of culminate in my latest project, which is an award-winning documentary called The Russian Five. So I grew up, there you go, very colorful Soviet Union, as you see, lots of colors. It's a colorful people, colorful country. So this was me. I started networking really early. I enjoyed the telephone. I wanted to learn a few things. Developed a great sense of fashion, whatever was available, which is that classic hat you guys see me wearing. So all the fashion, this was a pretty popular Soviet look back in the day. This is kind of part of what the childhood was like. God, this thing. So as you walk by, you see this line. So this is not a myth. This is actually true. There was quite a few lines growing up in the 70s and the 80s. I know it's hard for people to imagine here. People hate standing in line for a concert ticket, let alone some people would stand in line. They didn't even know what they're going to be getting. But they knew whatever they're going to be getting, they might need that in order to barter something. So all these things develop in your childhood and things that you understand. So while you guys were doing this growing up, right, familiar, playing video games, you got a lot of excitement. We as kids did this. This is a piece of elastic that you kind of string together and you jump around. This, however, was my favorite game. Can anybody guess what this is? This was literally like a can with a stick, and you'd throw that can you'd throw the stick at the can in a variety of different ways. This was a game, because we didn't have Pac-Man and other things. Like, true story, realistically. So this is what I learned. The absence of choice sparks creativity, right? So when you don't have all of these things that are consistently distracting you, which were video games and things of this nature, you get really creative and you start to work with what you got. So next thing, we had a summer house. So my family was slightly better off on the level of whatever Soviet Union where everybody is equal. So we had a summer house that my grandmother would take me. A lot of Russian children got sent away in the summer. They're like, you're going to camp, you're going to summer house, we're out. So which was kind of a great thing. So you got to kind of detach from your parents. Your parents took a break from you. So my grandmother ran the house this way. So we had a well, which we would have to walk to and kind of get this water and carry it back. And in order to water the garden, it took about, 40, 50 trips. What I did not understand at that point, because I saw literally a hose not that far away, and I would always be like trying to innovate. I'm like, Grandma, why can't we just take this really long hose? That's how we get the water. She would say, no, that's how we're doing it. This is later me when I came to California. I was revisiting my days at the well. But what I learned, don't take the easy way out. You got to put in the hard work. My grandmother at that point was instilling the value of hard work into what I was doing, which I will definitely use later in life. So what comes next? So next time my parents come to me and they say, we're moving to the United States of America. So I'm a teenager at that point, and I'm going, why the hell are we moving to the United States of America? But okay, I'm in, what can I do? So we left, not like many other people leave, which is getting on a plane and getting here. We left, leaving all our possessions behind, $100 6 suitcases. In those suitcases, we would carry things with us that we could sell along the way to make sure that we will have enough money to make it here. So this is a typical, we were in Italy, so this is a typical like Italian market. where we would sell many different things. They could have been watches, they could have been things that were knitted, but amongst some things that we're selling was, God, this doesn't work that well. So who can guess what this is? Yes, blown up condoms, that's what it is, you guessed correctly. So at that time in Italy, there was quite a bit of controversy. So there was a country that was practicing safe sex, it was all about having children. And they were really buying this Soviet condoms that we were bringing. So this is what they looked like. So that's what we're selling at the corner, amongst with many other things. So what did I learn? When selling in each product, you need to educate the consumer by any means necessary, which will ultimately lead to sales. So I was learning some sales techniques along the way. Fun thing. So I was coming to an America that looked like this, okay? This is how I pictured it. I had seen movies. I was like, okay, fine, I'm in. Big buildings, really cool. When I got here, this is what it looked like, okay? This is where I was gonna live. This was my first apartment. I lived in that basement, actually, to the left. Wow, I was like, really? I also pictured America would look like on the left. So I pictured it really sexy, super cool, sexy people. I got more of the other picture right there, as you guys see. We're all in Michigan, so we know it's very familiar. So this is the America that I got. So what did I learn during that time? Unrealistic expectations lead to disappointment. So also a very powerful lesson in life, as I learned along the way. So next, important lesson. So when we lived in the Soviet Union, my mother was a fashion designer. I know it's hard to imagine, but as much fashion there was maybe a couple fashion designers. She was second on the totem pole. She was a fashion designer. She was making fashion. This is some Soviet-looking fashions. When we got to America, no language, certainly she could never be a fashion designer. So what could she do? We didn't have much money. So this is what my mother started doing. She worked for a Korean lady that paid her $3 an hour, and every day she told her she might not have a job for her tomorrow. Yet every day my mother would get up, she would go to that work, and she would come home and she would continue to do that. That was my huge inspiration. So that taught me a very important lesson, not to feel entitled, and nothing was ever beneath me. I would go on to do many things in my business that I didn't have to do. But I knew that if I did them, I would always not be entitled. And I would grow up in a way where any job, nothing that I would do was never beneath me. So next lesson in life, so I was a pioneer or whatever, a young communist. And everybody would get to go to music school. Okay, everybody had a choice. You could go to music school, you could go to this school. So, and it wasn't for money, you couldn't pay. So you had to really have talent. So whatever you wanted to do, whether it's to play sports, to play the piano, you had to just go there, test out your skills, and that's what you would do. So my parents were like, you're going to music school? I said, okay, I'm down. I'd like to play soccer instead, but I'll go. At this music school, they said that I'm better off doing anything in life but playing music. They're like, literally, just soccer, whatever, do anything you want to do. Just you're never gonna make it, basically, they told me. So I came to America. Again, we're living in that apartment that you guys saw. I'm really bored. There's nothing to do, no money. I discovered the most amazing thing in the world, which was the new dance show. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the new dance show. So it was it took place in a basement in Detroit. It was the Detroit version of the Soul Train. Oh. And they were the best people. They wore the most colorful costumes. They played the best music. I watched this ad nauseum, and I'm like, this is my tribe. I will find these people one day. This is my people. I love these people. So I end up finding these people at a nightclub called Heaven, where I hear house music for the first time, and I fall in love. I fall in love with the music, I fall in love with the culture. And at that time, I'm still a part of the Russian community, and I go to a party which played the worst music and was just the worst party in the world. And I'm like, God, my people deserve better. Like I've been to some great parties, I've seen how they do it, So I'm gonna throw my own party. So I rented out, I still remember this was Christmas predominantly, most of my community is Jewish. I'm like, we have nothing to do on Christmas, perfect opportunity. I rented out a synagogue. And everybody's like, who's gonna DJ? I'm like, I don't know. I've seen how other people do it, so I will try it out. I'm like, I'm gonna DJ. I'm gonna figure this thing out. I also invited some wonderful drag queens, which Russian community has never seen before. That was a big shocker. So I miscalculated just a little bit there. But the party was fun. 300 people came. I had no idea how to mix records together, but I knew good music, and everybody loved it. From there on, I went on to develop a really vibrant career in DJing. I ended up touring the world. I ended up teaching myself, because back then, there wasn't much Google, there wasn't much YouTubing, there's really not something you could do, right? So you had to go and you had to figure out how can somebody else teach you this. So I taught myself, and I would end up playing at the largest festival that takes place in Detroit, Movement, and I would end up DJing at this festival, and I would end up traveling the world. I'd end up going to many, many countries. So honestly, don't listen to what other people say. Who gives a shit? God, if I could go and find that woman that told me I would never amount to anything in music and explain to her what electronic music festival in Detroit was, I really would. I don't think that's possible. But the lesson here is, I mean, like really, you could just do it. You could figure it out, and you could do anything. So next thing, as you mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I've been involved in a lot of different businesses. I started my first business when I was 18. It was a resale shop in Hamtramck. Unfortunately, I had to close it because it was robbed so many times. By the time I'd get there and the police would get there after me, it just became a headache. So that didn't work out. I was a party promoter and a concert thrower. I remember borrowing $18,500 from my mother to do this concert that miserably failed, and I had lost all that money. I was a part of owning a kitchen and door showroom and a production facility that did that. That failed in its own way too. And what I've learned in life is you gotta fail forward. I mean, you have to understand, what are you taking away from that failure? And the biggest thing is, imagine failure in a way. What if you knew the exact amount of failures it would take for you to succeed? What if you knew that number? How would you treat failure? How would you look at it? You know, and I've learned that I gotta fail forward. I gotta consistently analyze every single failure I've had, and I have to think about what can I do better and where can I go with this? So failure, I think, is an essential part of whatever it is that you're doing in life, and success in general. So next comes an incredible opportunity. I'm in my DJing career. I've sort of seen the world. I've done it. I've been there. I'm getting a little tired of it. A friend of mine came to me and he says, there's film industry is coming to Detroit. It was about 10 years ago. And he says to me, let's start a company that will service film industry. I'm like, cool, that seems like a fun business. Something is always different, something is moving, you know. So we started a company called Filming in Detroit that was supplying automobiles and was supplying extras to the film sets. And like I mentioned before, I'm analyzing everything that I'm doing. I'm like, this is cool, but it's not enough, you know, is this business sustainable? So at that time, another good friend of mine, Gary Brado, came to my office and he says, do you want to do a TV show about small business? And this way we could learn more about small business and become better business people. And we'll do the show based on Detroit. I'm like, sure, cool, let's do that. You know, I'm open to that. So we shot a pilot and we took the show to PBS and they loved it. They said, let's take this bigger, let's do a regional show. So we went to Chicago, shot that again, came back, they're like, we're taking you guys nationally. So we're popping champagne, we're like, this is great. And then they say, now go find the money. Like, what do you mean find the money? Like, don't you guys just hand us a bag of money? So that's not how it worked. So fast forward a little bit, we just launched season 7. We've had some of the biggest companies support our show, from American Express to State Farm and every major global corporation. We've traveled across America. There isn't many places we haven't been. And I'll play you guys a little clip from the show so you guys see what the show is about.
Join us for Startup Season 7, where we travel through Idaho Falls, Idaho, Ogden and Salt Lake City, Utah, Fort Collins, Denver, and Boulder, Colorado, and back to Flint and Detroit, Michigan. Startup Season 7 features a diverse group of small business owners.
Is this a multi-million-dollar business now?
It is.
How does that feel? Is that surreal to you?
And it didn't take me long to learn that this was not designed to sit behind a desk.
Is the business profitable right now?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Francis, how are we doing?
Dipper's paralyzed wiener dog, and the owners decided to surrender him to the rescue.
Hard work, perseverance, and vision is all it takes.
All right, let's get down to business.
This is Startup.
So this became a cornerstone of our business, and this became a really influential show on a lot of business owners. So the lesson I learned from that is you have to be open to possibilities. Had I said to him, no, I've never really done this before, or, can we do this? I was open to possibility of doing something new and something exciting. And everything I've learned quite a bit. I've interviewed a lot of people. What does it really take to make it in business, right? So now it's a lot more than that, but by that time we've interviewed 192 people actually on our show. I've personally interviewed over 500 entrepreneurs, anywhere from a small to a medium to a large size scale business, asking them what does it really take. So I got some really interesting answers. So as you guys can see there, people mention a lot of different things, and that's a reoccurring theme, a reoccurring answer. So I looked at all of that. For me personally, it has become this. Ideas are shit, execution is the game. Okay. Gary Vee puts it extremely, extremely bluntly. I've looked at all of these people, what sets them apart, what makes them different. For me personally, it has always been execution, execution, and execution. Because a lot of these qualities are great, but I don't think they deliver at the end of the day. So full circle. So I took everything sort of that has happened in my life prior to this point. And in my next project, I think it took every single ounce of every single lesson I've ever had to bring it to life, which brings me to the Russian 5. About 4.5 years ago, I was sitting at my office, and it was one of those days, I'm sure you guys know those days, where I said, I will not put another thing on my plate. No matter what happens, I cannot take on another project. It just doesn't happen. So a really young guy walked into my office, and somebody asked me to take this meeting, and he said, I'm going to pitch you a project. And he said, I want to make the story of the Russian 5. And I said, oh, shit. Like, really? Like, why today? Why on this day? Like, you come to me. I'm like, wow, really, the Russian 5? So I knew the Russian 5 when they came to America. I came here in '89, Sergey got here in '88. And I knew them not just in the way that other people knew them, I knew them in a personal way. On Sundays, they would come to Oak Park and they would play soccer with us, with the Russian immigrants. I mean, Sergey had a Corvette. I had a 1979 Pontiac Bonneville. A little bit of a difference there, but they were just people, and it was such a fascinating story. I believe in good energy. I believe everything happens for a reason. So I looked at the guy, first-time director, by the way, never has made anything, was trying to get the money for this film for almost 2 years. And I said to him, I will go to one person only. I said, if he gives us the money, which is incredibly difficult to get in the world of documentaries, especially this subject matter, I said, it's meant to be, and I'm in. So I went to one person only, who was Dan Milstein at the time. He is an entrepreneur, also of a Russian background, came here with nothing like me, has built a huge business, owns Gold Star Mortgage Company and a family of companies. He at the time was the agent for Pavel Datsuk. I'm like, he has money, he's in hockey, let me go pitch him. So he was in. I was like, well, now I have to do this, right? I have to do this thing. So we set off on a journey that would take so many years to come, and we thought would not get made so many times. This is actually us in Moscow. And one of the funniest thing I told Josh, I said, were you gonna go to Russia without any Russians? Like, that's just heads up, that's a bad idea. You do not go to Russia to film a project without bringing Russians along with you. So, we went to Russia, we got interviews there, we got interviews with everybody, we interviewed over 40 people. The biggest challenge had come after that, which was archival footage that we had to get into our film. There's 42 minutes of archival footage. Nobody wanted to get us the tapes. We had to get the tapes transferred, and then the NHL didn't even want me to have this footage. One of the other biggest challenges is, and if you watch the movie, you know the story of Vladimir Konstantinov. He was in a coma. The only time he would respond to anything is when We Are the Champions played. When that song would play, he would squeeze somebody's hand. So now, as a producer, I have to get the song We're the Champions, and I don't have money like other big studios do. So I reached out all the usual channels, whether it's Disney or Sony, and the bill was like $300,000. I'm like, we can't afford that. So we actually tweeted at Brian, and we wrote him a letter. And we told them, we said, we don't care about we're the I mean, we do care about we're the champions, but it's not a cliche we're the champions. It's we're the champions that is meaningful to our story. And he made it happen for us in the most affordable way. So think about the power of technology and how world has become and how small the world has become. You know, and actually, it's just the ability to Google things, right? And to learn things. We've set into this thing without knowing a lot of things and finding people and using the power of connections through technology has been incredible for this project in particular. We premiered right here at the Free Film Festival at Fillmore with 3,500 people in the building. We had other options, but I felt like we owed it to the city to premiere this here. Vladimir Konstantinov was in the crowd and he was singing We're the Champions, and that was a very special moment for us because up to this moment, again, there was probably at least 20 to 30 times where this doesn't happen. This project just potentially does not happen. So this is me at a quintessential Russian press conference. Nobody smiles there. It was the most terrifying thing ever. There was about 200 people staring back at us. Literally, this is the look. When I cracked a joke, everybody just looked back at me in that way. And it all comes back, it all comes back full circle. We premiered, this is us on the red carpet, so we premiered the film in Moscow to 1,500 people, and we were not sure how do people respond to that film there. You know, are they gonna like it? You know, that's where the guys live now. And it was a huge hit, it was a big success. We got a standing ovation. Everybody was there, Sergei Fedorov, as you see, Igor Larionov, Slava Fetisov, so we're all there celebrating. That was very recent that we did that. And the lesson that it just brings it all back is just, honestly, anything is possible. It's possible for the first-time director from Port Huron that has never made a film before to come and meet a Soviet immigrant that came here with nothing, to produce a piece of content that's this. And when we produced this film, we got picked up for distribution. However, our distributors did not want to do a theatrical release. So we've set out on the difficult task of releasing this film theatrically with a team of 2.5, 3 people. And we did it. We put $500,000 in the box office. Again, through the power of technology, we're now able to compete in that marketplace. Could we not use social media before? Could we not use Google ads before, or YouTube ads, and things of that nature? If it was a traditional way of people doing things, I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know if I could have competed or connected with my audience on that level. So the movie has since then been picked up by NBC Sports. And we are vying for one of the spots on the Oscar shortlist, which comes out on December 16th. And we are a long shot by a big stretch because it's become sort of sexy for your Amazons and Hulus and big boys in the Netflix to throw a lot of money to try to get that Oscar. However, me and my team are just diligently working on potentially securing one of that spots, because for us, so many more people get exposed to the story, because the story is not just, it's not about hockey, it's about people. It's about the world, it's about how people perceive each other and what they can do together when they come together as a team. So next lesson, for me personally, Russian 5 was a legacy piece. Wasn't about money. It's about who tells that story. When I went to pitch my executive producer, I looked him in the eye and I said, if you and I don't tell the story, who tells the story? Who is going to do this? Who is going to do it justice? So legacy is a big portion of why I did that project. But for me in life, it's about family. Honestly, family is first. I love my family. Raisa is here. She's a director of startup, actually. That's my wife. That's our son. And we get to just enjoy life together and do things that we love. So that's one of the biggest things and joys in my life personally. So that's me, and that's my story in a nutshell.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Jenny. That was absolutely amazing. And I think the lesson that we just learned from that was that you can't tell Jenny something that she can't do, and she's not going to go out and kill it and crush it. So thank you for the inspiration. It's actually really, really timely for us to here at Google, because we've just wrapped up our career week where we spend a lot of time talking about taking risks and being someone who's not afraid to go out there and try a new role, a new job, something that challenges you or scares you or inspires you or motivates you. So thank you very much for sharing your immigration story and all of your motivations with us. We'll talk about the Russian 5 in a second, but you gave us so much I wasn't expecting there that I actually want to talk a little bit more about you. Sure. And your last slide up there with Ethan and with Riza, I think it's pretty obvious that we can assume that that's your current motivation in life. Would you say that's fair? That your family is really a big part of what inspires you to wake up every day and be so bold and daring?
100%. And I mean, and it takes a team, and they're sort of my team, you know, and they're my inspiration. And it's amazing to be able to find that and to have that and to look at it that way, you know, because a lot of times people's mindset is I got to go out there, I got to make the most amount of money possible, you know, or it's so important in the big grand scheme of things, for me personally, to chase happiness and have a happy place, and whatever that happy place could be. You know, so that's my happy place. So that's what makes me happy.
It's a beautiful, happy place to have. So congratulations on that. You talked a little bit too about technology. We're here at Google, so it's only appropriate. Before we get into how you use technology to promote the movie, your second lesson up there was that creativity is really sparked when there is not a whole lot to do. In the absence of being someone who immigrated here to the United States without all of the technology we had, which was Pac-Man at the time on a table for sure. Tell us a little bit about that lesson, about coming to America, and how maybe that was reinforced for you.
So coming to America, I mean, you come in, imagine like if I took you and just basically dropped you on Mars right now, and you don't speak the language. You can't communicate with the Martians. Sure, we probably imagine Martians in a certain way. I can assure you they're going to look totally different. And so you are now having to learn and consume and absorb all this information. And not that technology is bad. Technology is actually good. The point is, technology allows us to communicate with people in an instance, right? But the point is for people to kind of unplug at certain times. And I think for creative people and for creativity, it's an extremely valuable lesson. You just have to take time when you're on and when you're off. And the biggest thing is, let me just be creative, but I'm always thinking, how can I use the technology to give me a better advantage? Especially when you're in position like me, right? Like let's say we're competing for the Oscars. The budget for Nat Geo to promote their latest film is millions of dollars. For me, it's not. I'm not taking out billboards. I'm not in trades buying full-page ads, but I do have technology. I do have that advantage. So it's sort of like, let me take some time to unplug. Let me come up with some creative ideas and then employ the technology to execute those ideas.
I mean, technology is definitely, you said it too, you don't know without technology how this movie would have gotten into the right hands, how this movie would have been seen by the right folks who it then would have cascaded and even entered you the opportunity to vie for one of those Oscar spots. So.
Or I couldn't have even distributed the movie. Like if you think about it, right? So I was sitting there, I was like, I'm gonna do this myself. But Jenny has never distributed a film theatrically in her whole entire life. Literally. Jenny is sitting in her spare bedroom, and by the way, I had just given birth to Ethan. So the whole entire time I was making this movie, I was either trying to get pregnant, I was pregnant, or I gave birth to a child. So I am sitting there literally with a tiny baby, which by the way, I've also never had before, so my first one. So that's an experience in itself, and going, I'm gonna put this movie to theaters. Sounds exciting, right? Jenny is going to do this. But how is Jenny going to do this sitting in her spare bedroom and feeding a little small baby? So this is where technology comes handy, right? I mean, through Google searches, I found people who book theaters. And then I emailed them. I mean, I just cold email and I cold call everybody until I turned blue in my face. And no is not an option and it's not an answer. It's just, how do you present this that it becomes a yes? But had I not had this technology, and it was all relationship based back in the day, where somebody knows somebody who owns Imagine Theaters or AMC Theaters, it'd be easy for them.
Right.
Without technology, I couldn't have done that.
Well, and I understand that maybe someone here in our office was very key in teaching you technology, teaching our platform, so to speak, to help promote the movie and help market the movie. Can you share a little bit about using our products to do such?
Sure, absolutely. Jamie is here. Thank you very much. So Jamie and I are neighbors. So our dogs play together. So I knew Jamie works at Google. So I got to tell you guys, I like Google, but Jesus, the YouTube platform and the way to advertise on the YouTube platform. And I've considered myself a pretty smart individual until I've embarked on that journey. It's a very complicated matter that was like getting my hair to stand up on my head. So I've asked Jamie, I said, listen, you have to help me. I want to run some YouTube ads. I know that visual content is king now, and I have all of this like amazing footage, but like I cannot figure out a YouTube ad to save my life. And it's kind of embarrassing, but it was true. So, she was kind enough to give me her time. And, we went for coffee and she explained different things to me. So if there is an easier way to do this, I'm all about that.
It's great feedback.
So,
it's great
because
feedback.
not everybody has Jamie that they're neighbors with that works at Google that could figure out how to run a YouTube ad. But I've used it in several ways. Again, through continuous searches, through Google AdWords to put us ahead of the game.
Was it successful?
Yes,
yeah,
it was very
great.
successful. It was very successful. Again, if you're trying to get out to your audience, absolutely it's successful because you can zero in, you could target. She helped me with figuring out keywords and things of that nature.
That's great. Was there anything really surprising, whether it was search or YouTube or whatever it was even if it was off platform, was there anything really surprising that you used to market this movie that you didn't think was going to work at all, that just kind of blew you out of the water?
Really surprising that, I don't know. I would have to think about that. That's a really good question. I'm always trying to leverage the power of other brands. And we've also been raising money for Vladimir Konstantinov, so we've employed some things in that way. We have merch that we're running. I also did a partnership with a Swiss watch company. We did 25 high-end timepieces for the Russian 5. So we're always looking at different ways. Right now I'm in talks, hopefully, with like a coffee company where I could get onto their sleeves and maybe advertise the movie this way. What surprised me is they haven't thought of this when I came to them. They're like, oh, we don't use that real estate for anything. I was like, why not?
Wow.
Put my movie on
That's
it, test it out.
Your serial entrepreneurship is amazing.
I could see his wheels spinning, but I don't know if it's going to be in my favor,
Wow, that's really amazing. Let's talk actually a little bit about the Russian 5 and why is the sport, let's start with the sport. Why is the sport of hockey so near and dear to you?
So my father played hockey when I was very young. So he played hockey, he loved hockey, it was a game, but it wasn't like a thing to take your daughter to. So I feel like he wanted some bonding time, but it wasn't like an option, and as women in particular, and I know it happened to me in DJing, until we see ourselves up there and until we see ourselves in those positions, we don't think that we're allowed, or we're able to, and the world is changing. But honestly, the thought, for instance, of DJing didn't cross my mind fully until I saw two women play. Right, so I think it wasn't the thing like he's like, let me take my daughter to this hockey game to play. Sure, we went to hockey. So that's always been in the back of like the sort of thing. My dad loved hockey, he played hockey, we watched hockey, I played more soccer. And I mean, this city, I don't know, do you remember that parade? Jesus Christ, 1 million people didn't come to the city of Detroit in '97 for any reason at all, probably the whole year long.
Yeah.
I mean, think about
parade, yeah.
what that meant, right? As I look at that footage, it was everybody. It was people who were black, who were white, there were any race, and the whole city really came together. Yeah. And I think with music and sports, you can transcend language, you can transcend cultures, you can transcend color. I mean, it's a thing that just unites people together, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So it's a great team sport, and a lot of people get behind it, and they're together, right?
I'm sure I don't know if your father is still around to see the success you've had with the movie, but I'm sure no matter what, he's so proud of you for making this movie.
And he's kind of Russian proud, like Russian parents are not like overly.
What is Russian proud? Tell us what that sounds like or what that looks like.
So I would go to play at the electronic music festival, right? You saw that. I mean, that's an impressive crowd. There's like 100,000 people that go to that.
Yeah.
They'd be like, okay, I'm going to play the biggest techno festival ever. They're like, oh, that's cool, bye. like half of the time, what are you doing? I don't understand what you do for a living. First you were like playing music, now you're making movies, you TV show, what is it really? So Russian Proud is sort of that, but then you go to my mom's work and every cutout of me ever being in a magazine or everywhere is on her wall, and she gets a kick when people come and they go, oh, do you know her? She's like, yeah, that's my daughter.
Yeah. Wow.
So Russian parents are a little bit more reserved with their proudness, but yes, they're very proud. And you know, my sister and my mother went to Russia, and we're actually going to Israel to premiere the film now. So my father is going to Israel, and
Love
they
that.
find different ways of expressing
Well,
proud.
you're telling the story. So that was another big takeaway from what you just shared with us, was that you said, if it's not us who makes this story, who's going to make it? Who's going to tell us? I think that's so powerful, and I think there's something really interesting there. I'd love for you to expand upon why you felt like you were the one that was the best of everyone that's here in Detroit that's immigrated from Russia or even nearby or in the United States. Why do you think it was you?
So it's hard, right? As creative people, we always doubt ourselves. And that's okay. I think the minute you stop doubting yourself, you're done, you're over.
Yeah.
The minute you think you're the greatest thing and you've made it, you might as well retire somewhere on the island, which for some people sounds nice, not for me. So you go through this doubt. Am I the one? Are we the ones? I think because at that particular time, it was in front of me, I knew the people, and I was extremely passionate about it, and I was authentic about it, and I knew that we could tell it in a way that would matter. Because I also think what's great about it is that director was American, and I was Russian. And I think it was important to get different people with different takes to tell this particular story. Because it's not just the story of the Russian Five, it's a story of Detroit. So what does it really mean to that blue-collar boy from Port Huron growing up and seeing this develop? And at the same time, in the parallel, what does that mean to a Russian immigrant girl that knew these people? And I think the marriage of that is what really worked. I think it's the right team. I think, you know, having the right team and the right people on your team is the only way to deliver a message. Especially like in film, it's an extremely collaborative environment. And you have to have the right team. And everybody should be going in the same direction, hopefully with the same type of excitement. And if they're not, you either figure out how to get them excited or you change your team member as soon as possible. And that's the one thing that I've learned from this, why it took so long and why we had to pivot and why we had to do, we didn't always have the right people on our team.
Team is interesting because it's a movie about the five. And it's a movie about 5 Russian immigrants who came over to do something spectacular. And I just think that it's really interesting that you chose to focus on those 5 who made it such a big name over here in our country. What was something that you didn't know about the 5 of them working together as a team or individually that you learned in the process of making this movie?
So I don't know if it was about them. So some of them had played together before. You know, I think it's more, first of all, nobody knew the story of how they came here.
Right.
Sure, there were whispers and people had talked about it,
Yeah.
but think about, in essence, of how Detroit had built this team, how genius Scotty Bowman was as a coach, and what risks Detroit took in order to do this. Because when they have a first-round draft pick and they pick this on a Soviet player, literally the whole entire floor laughs at them. Oh, there goes Jimmy Devellano wasting a 4th-round draft pick. That's pretty high up, right? But to have that vision and to say, not only are we gonna like get this player drafted, then we're gonna figure out this crazy way of going to another country with a bunch of money, and we're gonna get these people out of there. I mean, it was really fascinating stories of watching them build that. And just, it's a beautiful story of watching people come together. Because when they first got here, there was a lot of xenophobia towards the Russians. And we see a lot of that in this country right now. Mm-hmm. And watching people overcome that, and watching people getting to know them, and watching people understand where they come from.
Yeah.
And sort of that cultural exchange that takes place. This is what makes America beautiful, is having an open mind and having been able to absorb other cultures.
Yeah, and no surprise to any of us, you didn't shy away from anything in the movie. You told the full story, and I think everyone who saw the movie is especially grateful for that. You controversially, I don't know if it was controversial or not, but covering the limo crash and everything that happened after the golf outing, and then you mentioned the coma as well. Did you have any backlash around how complete you told the full story from how they got him over here to that?
There was no backlash, but there was a lot of sort of people were really careful of how we were going to tell this story. People from the organization, people from the family, you know, it's just such a complex thing that happened, right? And we were not interested in coming at the story in any other way, but this is the story. This is what happened. And I think once we told everybody that's how we're going to approach this, people sort of eased off. And again, like we never had, like honestly, outside of Darren McCarty, who has always been in, a lot of people were waiting to see what we're going to do.
Wow.
Sure,
Of
they
the
was
people, meaning the other players.
the other players,
that were
the
around for it,
organization.
right, yeah.
I mean, sure, everybody was going, okay, cool, what can we do sort of to help, but not really.
Yeah.
Because when you don't know, they don't know. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, is this really going to be good? Is this a legit thing? You know, so especially when you're doing this as a first time film director. So a lot of people were sort of reserved and they wanted to see what the final product is. So we definitely faced that. And the hardest part, honestly, nobody wanted to share the archival footage with us outside of the Illich archives. And the Detroit Red Wings just gave us, like, I don't know, I could fill this whole room with boxes of beta tapes.
Oh, wow.
That we had to digitize.
Yeah.
But going to, I'm sorry, Channel 7, Channel 4, all of those people wanted to have nothing to do with letting us into their archives.
Wow.
Like, why are you preventing us from telling this amazing story? Because it's too hard for you to, like, sign a piece of paper?
Yeah, work. You said that. What if you knew how many times you had to fail before you would have a home run or have a success? Have you ever aggregated that? I love that you actually, you don't talk about past tense failure. You also talk about present tense because it seems really important to you that failing is a good thing. You ever thought more about, like, Jenny has failed this many times before she did this, or put that to
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done it. I should probably do it.
I don't know.
I'm
not
kind of
saying
afraid
to
of
do
that
it.
number.
Yeah.
But does it really matter? I don't know if it matters, right? It's just a whole conceptual thing that if you looked at failure, what if you did know?
Yeah.
What if you knew you had to fail 10 times to make the most amazing thing in the world? It would have probably made those sleepless nights when I thought this movie doesn't get made so many times, probably crying on my couch and calling Josh saying, I don't think we'll make this movie ever, right? Would have it made it easier? Probably. So I think it's more of a mindset that every time I'm failing right now, I'm like, okay, I'm failing. It's not if everybody fails, like whether it's personal, whether it's business, like it's just there's no perfection.
Yeah.
And you can't get to perfection, maybe eventually, but it's okay because it's a learning opportunity every single time.
And I can't not address the fact that you, as a female especially, telling a story, it's a very male-dominated background, rich in history of something that, even when you talk about the fact that hockey is important to you because your father played it, but you weren't sure he was going to want to bring his daughter, his female daughter, with him to a game. How have you transcended these gender stereotypes and just broke through it and not given a shit, so to speak?
So, I mean, you probably learned a little bit about me by now. I don't give a shit, which is a good quality to have. My God, if I did, I would
really
be in
great.
that corner over there crying every day of my life. But, you know, what's amazing is, like, it's 2019, right? And somebody like you will tell their male friend who is really into hockey, oh my God, my friend made this movie. And they go, oh, what's his name? Mm-hmm. And you go, oh no, it's a girl. And they start laughing hysterically. Like, I cannot tell you how many times my friends have told me stories of their friends just simply not believing that a female produced this movie. The worst probably took place when I was booking theaters, and there's, you know, another producer, Steve Benetine, that works with me that I brought into the project. And as I'm booking theaters and as I'm negotiating deals, a gentleman that did not like the way I was negotiating, one of them said, well, should we hang up right now so I can call Steve? I was like, okay, let's just back up right now. Like, let me give you a little background on this situation. Steve is not going to say anything different because I am negotiating this deal. By you calling Steve, nothing changes. I said, this is very disrespectful. What do you think? Because you're calling a male right now, I'm going to start negotiating in a different way? No. And I was hard-pressed. In this theatrical release, I was very hard-pressed many times with actually a group of males running theater that wanting me to back out of another theatrical deal and they just pressed me till the very last moment. You know, and you look at powerful females, and it's a quality that gets called names, right? It's an admirable quality. You know, men are persevering and they're strong characters, right? And here's, you know, I've been called some names, which is, it's fine. It's all about changing perceptions. I don't care because what I care about is my team. I care about an end result, and I care about piece of legacy that I produced, that Vladimir Konstantinov's family comes to the screenings and she looks at me and she thanks me, and people know his story, and I'm changing his life, and I'm changing lives of people where now fathers and daughters can watch this film together and enjoy it.
I love that. I love that so much. Do you think that there's a part 2 of this story? Do you see any future projects, maybe highlighting one of the players now in another film, or is there anything that has this led to any other conversations around future endeavors with the Russian Five?
I'm a little hockeyed out, to be honest. It's been a long time. But
soccer,
certainly,
maybe. Soccer next.
You know what? A great story is a great story. So there certainly have been discussions on a feature remake. I mean, each one of the players has a fascinating story in its own right. You know, Darren McCarty, who's become probably one of my favorite people through this, watching what bottom he has hit and where he is rising right now. You know, right now, it's just the focus is we really want to be on that December 16th, getting on that short list and changing the stereotypes of how does somebody like me, an independent producer, compete in that landscape. That's sort of the focus. And we're still touring the film. You know, we're going to London actually Tuesday. From there, we're going to Israel. So it's spreading the message. And, you know, I always have great projects, and a good story is a good story. And, you know, my rule is like changing the world through storytelling in a way where it would affect people. It's not about money. It's about what are we putting out there as a society? Are people going to look back and go, wow, they did it right? Or are they going to go back and go, God, all they did is just like ruin this planet and made this shitty TV and just completely just really messed it all up?
I don't think anyone could ever look back on your legacy and say anything like that. Are you going to continue in the music scene as well? Is there future plans? Will you be in Movement next May here with us
I
as
won't
well?
be at Movement, but I am still playing around town. So I will be playing at Motor City Music Wine in January. So I love music. That's always a part of me. I just wish like it took place during the day now, you know, as I get older.
Yeah. Instead around 4
And I have
a.m.
like a small child, and people are like, we should come play this party, but it starts at 2 a.m. I was like, no. How about 12 p.m., 2 p.m., like anything in the daytime scheme? I mean, I love music. You know, to me, that just also transcends so many boundaries, and it speaks this beautiful language. So, you know, definitely still in music, yes.
Great. Yeah, we could use a feature piece on a woman that's as big of a badass as you are, that's doing great things in Detroit. So hopefully that gets made as well. Jenny, I can't thank you enough. I would love to offer the audience a few questions if anyone has any questions for Jenny before we wrap this up.
So I liked in your story when you started at the beginning that you just casually mentioned several times you had to go out and get money, and then you did. And you skipped the part of the sales pitch, but then later you came back and said it's all about not taking no for an answer, but presenting it in a way where they want to say yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the success that you found in presenting these pitches in a way that they want to say yes?
Sure. So I can talk about probably the first ever major win in my life, which was Startup Television Project. So we had to finance the whole entire season of a national television show, which is, you can imagine, a lot of money. So what do you do first? You're like, other people have done it, let's hire those people, right? Typically, smart idea, let's hire people that have done it. Hire the people they couldn't deliver. 6 months went by, no money, nothing happened, right? Natural progression in my life. I'm going to have to figure this out. Other people have. Everybody puts on their pants the same way in the morning, one leg at a time. Let's figure this out. So again, technology becomes very handy. We literally Googled every company we thought would work in terms of sponsoring our television show. Then we found contacts within those companies. Then I went through my LinkedIn, and I figured out who might be working at that company. So at that time, a guy I haven't seen in 10 years worked at American Express. So I wrote him a message on LinkedIn. After 10 years, I'm not seeing the guy. Hey, I know we haven't seen each other, but can you help me get this exuberant amount of money from American Express? In a slightly nicer way. So the guy writes back and he says, oh my God, I love you. I met my wife at your party. Full circle. Wow. I will help you. So he gives me the right person. I literally find myself scared to death on the 41st floor of American Express Financial Tower, asking somebody for $350,000. I've never asked for more than $25,000. So the jump is very high here, right? But what do I have? I have a lot of passion. I can deliver the pitch, and I'm extremely prepared, okay? Luck favors the prepared. I mean, those cliches are there for a reason, because when you come into a room, you're pitching, you're passionate, you can deliver, and you can answer every question. There shouldn't be a question you cannot answer. And what happens? A little bit of luck also works, right? This woman had just gotten a job at American Express. It was literally her first project they asked her to listen to. And she meets me. And I just actually saw her in New York yesterday. How funny. And she said, you know why I gave you the money? It was because of you. Your show did not exist. And you said to me, I'm a woman of my word. And that has resonated with me for 8 years. How crazy is that? Sometimes we say things we might not even know. But I think what it takes really is just extreme preparation, connecting with those people that you're asking for money for, doing your homework, doing your research. And you know what? Sure, you'll get no's. It's a numbers game. Every season, we'll probably get 100 no's, and then we get 4 yeses. And that's all I need to do to continue to make this great show that impacts American entrepreneurship.
Jenny, thank you. This was super duper inspiring. I loved it. Is there a way that we can see, is there viewings of the movie coming up in the area, or is there a way that we can view that movie anytime soon?
Sure, you can stream it. So we're streaming now. So it's on iTunes, Amazon Prime, on any of those channels.
Awesome.
It's on NBC Sports, but you know, you have to be like on TV at a certain time for that. Well, I think it's DVRable. We will have some screenings that we're still doing theatrically, but those are like special events potentially. But otherwise, it's iTunes, Amazon Prime, and all of those places.
Side note, I was at a bar last night, and it came up completely unrelated to me attending this today. So there is some buzz in the city about the film. So
wonderful, thank you. Thank you.
Hi Jenny, thanks for being here. Any funny or memorable stories you can tell about the Russian Five when you first met them or when they first came here that wasn't in the movie for the time?
Funny stories about the Russian Five itself?
Or the people?
The guys.
The guys themselves. I don't know if I remember any funny stories. I'd have to think about that. I mean, they were just like regular people. You know what's funny is because all the American people wanted us to get them autographs, and they wanted us to like introduce them to them, you know, and they learned how to say our last names because they had Russian's last name. Nobody could say my last name before them, you know. So the more funny part was, I mean, they were just like regular, honestly, they would come to the Russian restaurant, they would party with us just like we would party, you know. And Sergey, of course, was like the superstar with the Corvette, you know, and they were all drastically different people, but they were still genuine, like, Russian people. I don't know, I'll have to think about if I ever remember. That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Well, Jenny, thank you again so much. Could we get a big round of applause for Jenny being here with us today? Thank you so much.